Hello folks, this is Sula once again. Welcome to another video for Teamfight Tactics. This is going to be another early look at Set 5. This footage is going to be taken from the public beta environment, the PBE, and on this occasion we're able to get 5 of us into a game together. Alongside me in this game is Grillo, Willow, Antisocial Monkey, and Walliver. So we have a little bit more than half the lobby, and our hope is that one of us will be able to take first place in this game. Also noteworthy, this is Grillo's first game on Set 5 Reckoning, so this is the first time he has played on the public beta environment, at least in terms of Set 5. So this game was played on the second day of the PBE. We definitely still don't have a great idea of what we're doing, but all of us are starting to get at least slightly more familiar with who the champions are, what some of the traits are. We're definitely trying to figure it out, and it's certainly fun to be able to take part in some of these early games and get an early look at what this set will be like. In this particular game, I'm going to be looking at playing a trait that I did not feature in the previous video that I put up on YouTube a couple days ago, and that is the Skirmisher trait. So there it is right here. I had seen in the discussions of Set 5 on Reddit that one person had said that Skirmishers was a pretty good team composition to play through, and I was like, I haven't really seen people playing through Skirmishers just as a team comp, so I want to try it out and give it a spin. So I decided I would just try to force a Skirmishers team composition in this game. Now, that doesn't always work, and in fact, I actually don't end up getting a lot of Skirmishers early on. Even though there are, in fact, a decent number of early Skirmishers, you can play the trait relatively early, but I wasn't finding it in this particular game, at least not early on, so you're going to see me play through the Forgotten trait in the meantime as I try to find some of the Skirmisher champs. What does Skirmisher do as a trait? Well, it's an interesting trait. It has kind of two separate things that go on at the same time. The first is that Skirmishers gain a shield at the start of combat. Shield is larger depending on how deeply you dive into the trait. At the moment, it's a 300 health shield for Skirmishers 3 and a 600 health shield at Skirmishers 6. So that only goes on Skirmishers. It doesn't go to people standing next to them. Might be a little similar to Keepers in the sense that they get the shield, but it is not shared by others. It's only for themselves. And the other thing that's quite interesting is Skirmishers gain bonus attack damage each second. So the longer the fight goes on, the more attack damage that they gain. So they get stronger as the fight goes on. It's one of those traits. Right now, Skirmishers 3 is 3 attack damage per second, and Skirmisher 6 is 10 attack damage per second. So they get more and more AD as the fight goes on. It's a physical damage-based composition, not a magic damage-based trait. Well, we're going to have to get to that in time. As I said, because I didn't have a lot of Skirmishers here in the early game, I decided that I would play through the Forgotten trait instead. I have a bunch of 1-star Forgotten units, and then I have Kennen in there. It doesn't really look like Kennen, but that's him with the little flame graphic on his head. And Kennen is a Skirmisher, so I'll be able to hold on to him. And in fact, I'm going to have Kennen hold some of my items in this game. I was able to make a chalice right off the bat, and I'm going to have him hold that item because that'll be useful really in any team composition. You also saw that we had the new featured mechanic for Set 5. We had the Armory popping up here at the start of Stage 2-2, and I went ahead and chose the Shadow Chain Vest. This is going to build into some kind of shadow item. We'll have to figure out which one. And since Hecarim is not going to stay in this team composition long term, I've just tossed the Shadow Chain Vest on him. I didn't want to commit the BF Sword onto him, though, because I wasn't interested in making the Shadow Guardian Angel. Guardian Fallen Angel is the official name. That will bring your champion back to life at 100% health if they die in the fight, as opposed to the normal Guardian Angel, which I'm going to look up the exact amount that it brings you back to. Normal Guardian Angel is you return with 400 health. So the Fallen or Shadow version of the Guardian Angel brings you back at a lot more health, but the holder's attack speed is reduced by 50% for the rest of combat afterwards. So it's another one of those high-risk, high-reward things where, yeah, you come back to life at full health, but then your attack speed's cut in half for the rest of the fight, which wasn't something I was looking for here. Anyway, I was a little surprised I managed to win that first round. Then I end up losing the second round against Antisocial, who's running a very similar team composition, also has 3 Forgotten units in, and also has a Chalice, although he has the Evil Chalice, which I think is actually better than the standard Chalice. I mentioned this, I think, in my previous video that I posted a couple days ago, but the Evil version of the Chalice takes ability power away from the person wearing it, and then grants a bigger bonus in ability power to the two people standing next to the chalice holder, which is honestly quite a bit better than the normal chalice, because you can usually find some unit you don't really care about to hold the evil chalice and take an AP hit to give a bigger AP boost to the units you actually do care about. But anyway, here we go, round number 3. I'm going to be up against Grillo here, and Grillo is running Forgotten. So a lot of people running the Forgotten trait, you see as he just bowls right over my front line with his Warwick. Warwick may be a little overpowered early on here on the PBE, just because he gets resets when he uses his ult, and I just get destroyed by Grillo. It's not even close. As far as the Forgotten trait that we're all playing, I'll mention this. I mentioned this, like I said, a couple days ago, but Forgotten champions have bonus attack damage and ability power. Basically, it's a trait where it's very offensive in nature. All the Forgotten champs get more AP and AD. They also get a minor benefit based on how many shadow items they're using. But the big thing is all the shadow champs get bonus attack damage and ability power. So, as I said, something that is going to be very good at killing the other team, maybe not so good at keeping your own team alive. Well, because I lost those rounds, I did get increased carousel priority, and I'm going to use the increased carousel priority to get an item I want, which is a tier, because I'm going to be able to use this on that shadow chain vest and get the tier plus chain vest combination. It's actually a shadow tier, but you can combine 2 shadow items together and it doesn't have an effect. Unfortunately, there's something bad though. It's on a Vayne, and that Vayne made Vayne 2-star, and now I can't get the item off Vayne to put on Hecarim. Oh no! Oh boy, this is where it's quite sad to have this, because I'd really like to be able to get that item off the Vayne, but there's no item remover here in set 5, and this is not the earlier sets where you could sell a champion after the carousel, but before they combine. So I get stuck with Vayne having a tier, which is horrible because she doesn't even use mana as a champion. So yeah, not what I want. And I don't want to sell her because I would lose the Forgotten trait. And I'm going to just have to look to find another Forgotten unit, which shouldn't be too hard to do. There's a good number of Forgotten units. Look to have to find another Forgotten unit. And then I'll be able to get that item off Vayne and onto the Hecarim as I want. We do have another trait in play here that's worth mentioning, a new trait here in set 5, and that's Cavalier. I have this on Hecarim, and then I also have it on Kled. It's not something I'm planning on running long term, but I've just stuffed it in here to do the best I can. And now I get more Forgotten units, so I can go ahead and look to play. Something else, and there we go. Now I'm able to get that unit item on Hecarim. The Cavalier trait, just while we're on the subject, because I'm not going to run this for very long, as I said, this is a new trait for set 5. Cavaliers charge towards their target whenever they move. So all the Cavalier units are mounted. They're going to dash towards the target whenever they move. And at the start of combat and after each charge, this effect is doubled for 5 seconds. So they get some damage reduction. It's not a lot. With Cavaliers 2, it's only 15% damage reduction. And as I said, at the start of combat and after each charge, that effect's doubled for 4 seconds. So a little bit harder to kill when they're charging towards people on the enemy team. Anyway, so I've gotten Forgotten trait back in, and you can see Hecarim is up there on the front lines. Now, the item that I wanted to make on Hecarim was the dark version or evil version of Frozen Heart, and Frozen Heart was reworked here in set 5, so it's worth mentioning. By the way, I have not had a particularly good stage 2. I've not gotten any kind of win streak or loss streak going, so my economy is in pretty lousy shape, and I've actually lost a fair amount of health too. 82 is not great to be at this stage of the game. Plus, I'm planning to play Skirmishers. I haven't even gotten Skirmishers in yet, so not the greatest right there. But back to the Dark Frozen Heart, or Evil Frozen Heart. So Frozen Heart was reworked at the beginning of set 5. It's back to doing what it used to do a while ago. It reduces the attack speed of enemies within 2 hexes by 35%, which is great. The reason why no one built Frozen Heart in set 4 is it only slowed the attack speed of people within 1 hex, but taking that attack speed slow out to 2 hexes makes it much, much better. Affects a lot more enemies. And if you watch these fights, you'll see a little frozen graphic above the heads of a lot of people on the enemy team. So that's the standard Frozen Heart. The dark version of the Frozen Heart, or the shadow version, whatever you want to call it, increases the attack speed slow to 50%. However, it also causes allies, except the wearer, to have that same 50% attack speed slow, but only within 1 hex. So basically, anything within 2 hexes for the enemies gets slowed by 50%, and then if your allies are right next to the user, they get slowed by 50% as well. But that's pretty good. It doesn't affect the person holding the It doesn't affect the person holding the item. And it's generally, I found, not that hard to just position your unit so that they don't clump up around the user. And you can get just a ton of benefit out of this item. I really like it. I think it's one of the better shadow items. So like right here, look at this fight. None of my people are getting slowed, but like I'm slowing a good portion of the enemy team right now. Again, they've got that little frost graphic so you can see who's being slowed. And like I said, it's going to help me out in these fights. Hecarim's just going to sit there on the front lines and tank. And then I'm going to rely on the Chalice on my other Forgotten units to try and deal damage. Again, I'm not terribly strong right now. I think I have all 1-cost units. I have a 2-star, or all 1-star units. I have a 2-star Udyr on my bench, but really don't have very much at this stage of the game. Here I get the chance to pick between 2 different items. I can take another BF sword or a sparring glove. Neither one is a shadow item, which is a little bit unfortunate. And then I'm able to get another Skirmisher in having Nidalee here. And I believe I'm finally able to get up to the 3 Skirmishers. Here we go. And in particular, I'm able to get Nidalee into the game, who is going to be the Skirmisher unit that I'm going to feature in this video. She is the best early carry for a Skirmisher team comp. And then you have the option of going into other Skirmishers later on. You can run Jax, and then theoretically Viego, who's a legendary unit, who's a Skirmisher. But Viego is very bad right now in this current version of the PBE, so I can't recommend running him right now, but I am sure that that will change. Again, this is super duper early on the PBE. I am expecting that he will get buffed before release, probably in the next couple days, if it hasn't happened already by the time you see this video. All right, so Skirmishers, as I mentioned before, they get the AD shield at the start, or health shield at the start of combat. As I said, we're at the Skirmishers 3 right now. It's a 300 health shield. And then in addition to that, they get additional AD for each second that the fight goes on. So they get stronger and stronger as the fight goes on, get more attack damage. Nidalee is particularly interesting as a unit because what she does is when her mana bar, she starts out as a ranged champ. Then when her mana bar fills up, she transforms into cougar form. So it's a little bit maybe like Shyvana from set 4 and honestly from set 1, who remember that. So she'll transform when her mana bar fills up. She then becomes melee and she will jump. Again, like Shyvana from the previous set, she'll go ahead and jump into the back lines on the other side of the team. And then in Cougar form, she gets extra dodge chance. Right now it's 45%, which feels too high, honestly. The fact that she just dodges 45% of incoming physical attacks feels really, really high. So it's useful to put items that have that build out of the Brawler's Glove or Skirmisher's Glove because it'll give her more dodge chance. And you can theoretically get her up to like 70% dodge chance or something. Just makes her very hard to kill. So she's a good mid-game carry and a good holder of mid-game items for a Skirmisher team comp. Nidalee's other trait is Dawnbringer, which I have in here right now. Or no, wait a minute. Is that the trait for Udyr? Hold on. Let me just double check here. I don't want to give out bad information. No, I'm right. Dawnbringer is her other trait. And Dawnbringer, what it does is it provides health regeneration when when a Dawnbringer unit drops below 50% of their max health. They rapidly heal back some of the damage they've taken, and then also gain bonus damage. I believe all Dawnbringers gain bonus damage. All right, so that's why I have the, I think it's Soraka that I tossed in here. Yeah, I tossed in Soraka because she is a Dawnbringer because I want Nidalee to get that extra health regen. Now, we actually end up getting a carousel with triple spatulas on it, and I was like, oh, cool, you know, I've got an extra sword. Sword plus spatula is actually the Dawnbringer spatula formula. Or no, excuse me, the Skirmisher spatula formula. I was like, you know what? I could just grab one of these spatulas. I could make a Skirmisher spatula, and then I'd be able to get up to 6 Skirmishers, and later on I could drop some of the weaker Skirmishers, like Udyr, who's not a very good unit. He's a 1-cost unit who has a trait in Draconic that doesn't build into the rest of the comp. But all the spatulas were taken early on, and I was like, what? Okay. So all the other spatulas gone. So I just take the Chain Vest instead to make Guardian Angel, which is, again, still always just kind of a good general use item. And now I'm going to put the Guardian Angel on the Nidalee because, again, she's still kind of my carry right now. I also managed to find 2 other Skirmishers. I find, let's see, Pantheon and Trundle and Lee Sin. One nice thing about these units is that their coloring is very similar. If you look at them, they all have like this kind of reddish, like very dark reddish color on them. So that's nice in terms of thinking, hey, you know, they're all Skirmishers. They have a visual similarity. But the bad side is their portrait art actually looks kind of similar. So I don't love the fact that their portrait art is very, very similar. But so in some ways it's good that they're visually similar, but in other ways it's difficult to easy to see that they are skirmishers, more difficult to distinguish between them because they look a little bit similar. Now I've managed to get another trait in here because it's a trait that's shared by two of these skirmishers, and that is the Dragon Slayer trait. So Dragon Slayer is on both Trundle and also on Pantheon. They are both Dragon Slayer skirmisher, so there's some natural synergy there. And the Dragon Slayer trait gives bonus ability power. So I'll just read the description. Dragon Slayers gain bonus ability power. After the first Dragon Slayer ally scores a takedown on an enemy with at least 1400 max health, all allies gain additional ability power for the rest of the round. So Dragon Slayers, they themselves get bonus ability power, and then if they can kill an enemy that has a lot of max health, then they also pass that on to the rest of the team, all the non-Dragon Slayers as well. Currently, Dragon Slayers 2 is 30% ability power for Dragon Slayers, 20% for the team. And then the benefit doubles if you go up to Dragon Slayer 4. But I won't be doing that in this video. Dragon Slayers is a great trait if you want to play through Mordekaiser, but he is not a unit I intend to play through in this game. I am in fact able to win a round against Grillo here, and Grillo had actually won the first 9 rounds of the game, so I interrupt his win streak. And remember, this is Grillo's first game in set 5, so apparently just picking up right where he left off, having no difficulty whatsoever, just immediately win streaking on a new set that he hadn't played before. That was a fight where the Guardian Angel came in super clutch because without the Guardian Angel, Nidalee dies and doesn't come back to life. I've got the GA on her. I also have the Jeweled Gauntlet. I wasn't sure about putting Jeweled Gauntlet on her. I still have no idea if that's anywhere close to best in slot, but it felt decent just so that I believe it affects her Cougar pounces, causes them to deal more damage. I'm not 100% sure on that though. And it is at least a semi-decent item because it has the extra dodge chance on that gauntlet. Remember, it builds out of the Brawler's Glove, so that has an 8 dodge chance. So she now has 55% dodge chance in Cougar form as opposed to 45%. So she is going to be pretty difficult to kill while she's in that form. Here I went ahead and leveled to 7, standard leveling time to level 7 at the start of stage 4, and I'm going to go ahead and I put the Soraka back in because I'll keep Dawnbringer in place. I did want to go up to 6 Skirmishers as soon as possible. 6 Skirmishers is a big power spike for this comp because remember, it doubles the size of the shield that they get at the start of combat, and it also more than doubles the AD benefit that they're getting per second. It actually goes from 3 AD per second to 10 AD per second, so a big difference there. It makes units much stronger as the fights continue. And as mentioned, I put Soraka back in to get the Dawnbringer trait back in so that when Nidalee drops below 50% health, she's going to get the big heal and go back up close to max health. I think she doesn't quite heal up all the way to full, but she gets close to it. And then I go ahead and sell that extra Trundle over there so that I can get back up to 40 gold. And I'm feeling pretty good about the game right now. I'm in one of the better positions as far as health. I had a much better stage 3 as opposed to stage 2. And now that I've got the 6 Skirmishers in, as I said, my comp spikes a fair bit. All right, so here we have the Armory again. I believe this is the last Armory in stage 4 too. And I get to choose between 4 different items. So I'm looking here, I'm like, I've got this leftover Giant's Belt. And I had the option to take a Shadow Needlessly Large Rod. And I was like, oh, you know what? I can make the evil Morellonomicon item and put it on Kennen. And I'm like, ooh, you know what? That feels good. It's the more evil Nomicon, or something like that. So this I also think is one of the better shadow items. It's pretty interesting in terms of how it works, but like the standard Morellonomicon, it puts a burn effect on any magic damage dealt by the target. The difference is the normal Morello's burns for 10 seconds and does 25% of the target's maximum health. The evil version deals 100% of the target's maximum health. You're like, wait a minute, it burns 100% of their maximum health? Yes, it does, but it does it over 25 seconds. Does it as true damage, but does it over 25 seconds. So basically, if you can get this on someone on the enemy team at the start of the fight, they will burn to death eventually, unless they get some kind of healing. But it just takes a really long time. Now, the trade-off is the holder themselves does 50% less damage. So it does reduce the damage of the unit that holds it. But if you can put this on a unit that you don't particularly care about, like the Kennen in this game, I don't really care about Kennen's damage. What I just want him to do is apply the Morellos to as many people as possible. So he's a perfect person to hold this in a Skirmisher's comp because he's got area of effect damage. He's going to run around the map, putting his little burn effect on everybody. And then he'll reduce the healing of anyone who gets hit by 50%. And that healing reduction will last for the entire fight. It's going to last for 25 seconds. And like I said, burn 100% of their health over that 25 seconds as true damage. So it can't be mitigated. So it's just a great item overall, as long as you can put it on someone who does AoE damage that you don't actually care about as far as their damage output. And Kennen is a really good holder of the item in this kind of team composition. So this is, for a Skirmisher setup, this is kind of best in slot, I would say, for the Kennen, is getting the evil Morellos and putting it on him and just letting the entire enemy team just burn away as soon as you get that effect on them. So that last fight didn't go so well, and this fight isn't going so great against Willow either. And the big reason is just I still have a 1-star Nidalee. Like, Nidalee is supposed to be my carrier right now, but we're halfway through stage 4. And she still only is 1 star, and so that's that's not going to cut it for too much longer. I definitely need to look to upgrade here. Unfortunately, even though I took those losses, I didn't lose enough health to get higher carousel priority, so I'm still going to be one of the last people to pick here. And I'm trying to think about what I want for my last item here on Nidalee, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the the cloak, which will build into a Bloodthirster. I think in retrospect, it probably would have been better to take the Brawler's Glove there on Ash for an Infinity Edge, just because that would give Nidalee another 10% dodge chance, which would get her to 65%, and because she has the Jeweled Gauntlet, and there's natural synergy between the Infinity Edge and the Jeweled Gauntlets. But Bloodthirster, not a terrible choice. It is, of course, a defensive item for her. She actually kind of has double defensive items in the Guardian Angel and the Bloodthirster. We'll give her lifesteal, and because this is the normal Bloodthirster and not the evil Bloodthirster, it's going to give her a shield when she drops below 40% health. So this is going to make her very hard to kill, but I think the raw damage output would have been significantly higher with the Infinity Edge. So question of safety versus having more damage, but with the Jeweled Gauntlet, the Infinity Edge probably would be the better choice, just because it would greatly increase crit chance. And assuming that the Jeweled Gauntlet functions with Nidalee, which I'm still not sure that it does, because this set came out so recently, it would be a nice synergy there between the two of them and get Nidalee up to like 65% dodge chance or something ridiculous. In this particular fight against Antisocial, Kennen got off a really, really nice ult where he just put the burn on basically the entire team. But I'm still hoping to find more Nidalee. Still would really like to 2-star this unit. There is now another Nidalee, so I'm able to grab her. And I'm looking at what other units to put in, and I was like, you know what? I think Riven, is she better? Would she be a better unit to put in than Soraka? Because she also has the Dawnbringer trait, would also keep that healing in play for Nidalee. But I wanted to see if there was anyone on my team who had the Legionnaire trait, which is what Riven pairs with. And I don't believe anyone does on my team. That's actually what I'm looking at right now. And I'm looking. I was like, all right, no one on my team has Legionnaire trait. So I'm going to keep Soraka in because I don't think I need more damage. I think the silence that Soraka provides is a little bit more useful for my team than having another source of damage. I kind of have decent sources of damage, but I don't have a lot of utility in this setup right now. So I'm going to continue to go with Soraka for right now, with the expectation that Soraka is going to get replaced. This person that I'm up against right now is running Abomination. They've got the big Scion that comes in, and it looks like they've been doing reroll Abomination, which is something that seems to be popular. They've got the 3-star version of Callista. Callista's a 1-cost. And Antisocial was running a Viego-based comp, and we're discussing it's like, yeah, he's bad. So again, expect Viego to get buffed at some point relatively soon if he hasn't been buffed already by the time this video comes out. But we're like, yeah, he is. On day 2 of the PBE, he was terrible. So poor Antisocial has like built this comp around a Viego carry, and he's itemized Viego, and Viego just does nothing in the fights. He tries to use his Mind Control or Soul Steal or whatever it is on an enemy unit, and he just kind of stands there and dies without doing anything. Now, knowing how this works, he'll probably get overbuffed and be super overpowered afterwards, but at least on this day, Viego was not a very good unit. From this minion round, I get another Pantheon, so that's nice. That'll get me Pantheon 2-star for my front line, and then there's yet another Pantheon here. But I'm going to go to 8, and then I need to roll. I am going to look for, again, I'm still looking to 2-star the, oh no, wow, I actually went past a Jax there. Oh no, I'm looking for Jax, and I only just saw right now that I went right past him. Boy, that's pretty bad, because I was specifically looking for Jax, because he's another Skirmisher, and a much better Skirmisher than Udyr. I definitely want to replace the Udyr with Jax. So wow, I'm a little surprised that I missed him. I was trying to roll slowly, but it looks like I still do not know the portrait art very well here. in this new set. And unfortunately, I still haven't found the Nidalee 2-star. Still just have this 1-star unit as my carry, which is not really going to cut it here in Stage 5. Now I'm lucky here in that Nidalee jumps right on the back line and starts killing the carries for this particular individual that I'm up against, who is not part of our group. But as I said, really need to get better. Really need to get a 2-star Nidalee here, because it's just not good enough to have a 1-star unit as your carry at this stage of the game. She does do the most damage at 4,200, and I think my front line is reasonably sturdy, especially with that evil version of the Frozen Heart still slowing down the enemy's front line. But like I said, I just need to get more units here, or I need to 2-star my carry. Also, I should have picked up the Soraka. I mean, there we go. Finally, there's the Nidalee. I was picking up extra Pantheons and some of these other units, but I don't really care that much about 3-starring them. Like, a 3-star Pantheon with no items is not going to be that great. And so I decided at this point, I was like, wait a minute, let's pick up extra Nidalees. I mean, the odds of getting Nidalee 3-star at this stage of the game with having so few is really low, but I might as well just pick them up anyway, just in case. I have tossed in the Kindred here just as like a random legendary unit. Kindred doesn't fit this comp at all, but I do have the option to get Mystic in. Like, I could take out Soraka and put in another unit with Mystic to pick up that trait if I wanted. But this is really just a placeholder. I would prefer to get other units in if I could. I'm just putting that in as the best thing to play at level 8 while I'm rolling. And wow, I sure got a lot stronger as soon as Nidalee got 2-starred. All of a sudden, you just pop people like immediately at the start of the fight instead of like slowly working them down, because now she's actually a 2-star unit and has real damage for a change. And of course, she does pick up more damage the longer the fight goes on. So again, I'm still trying to roll here. Like I said, I don't have a great sense for all these other units. You might notice I'm picking up Rel and picking up, who's the other one? Nautilus, because they have the Iron Slayer, or what is it? Iron something trait? I'm still trying to learn the trait names here. There's another Nidalee, so just keep picking these up. I'm really looking for Jax, and it's super sad that I bypassed a Jax earlier here, because I would happily have been playing him here, and then I'd be able to transfer into this setup. Boy, by the way, 3 Nidalees, so I was like, oh, okay, now the floodgates are opening and the Nidalees are popping up. Now I actually do have a realistic chance of getting up to the 3-star Nidalee. I went ahead and sold the Nautilus to get to 10 gold. I think that was probably a mistake. Should have held onto that, because the trait that I really want to put in is that Iron... What's the official name? It's Iron... I've got the cheat sheet here. It is Ironclad. I keep thinking it's Iron Core because I ran a team in Final Fantasy that was once called the Iron Core team, but it's apparently Ironclad. And Ironclad is basically the physical version of Mystic. Everyone on the team gets armor. It's a great trait. And Jax holds the trait. So since Jax is going to be part of a Skirmishers comp, and he has that Ironclad trait on him, you definitely want to run Ironclad. So I really want to get the Jax into this setup, and I also want to get the Ironclad trait in play by picking up Rel, who's just an amazing champion. Has 3 traits, has fantastic crowd control that she brings. If I can get her, I'm going to get her in as soon as I can find Jax, and then you'll get a chance to see what she does if you haven't seen her before. But there we go. There is Jax, and I believe this time I actually see that the Jax is there. Like I said, I'm just not used to the portrait art yet. So goodbye to Udyr. We're going to go ahead and put Jax in. And so now we can just move this Frozen Darkheart to Trundle. I think it should actually be on, I think it's actually a little bit better placed on the Pantheon. And so now I'm going to go ahead and look to put that in. And so now we actually do have the Ironclad trait in play. So as I said, this is going to give everyone on the team armor. It's like I said, it's like Mystic, but for armor. And it's, I believe at Ironclad 2 right now, it's 40 armor. At Ironclad 3, it's 100 armor for everyone on the team. So that's really good, giving everyone on the team 100 armor. So I really want to get the last Ironclad unit in, which is Nautilus. But I've sold Nautilus, and now I have to find him again. So I was a little short-sighted to sell him. It got me to an even income breakpoint. It got me to 20 gold, but I still think it was a mistake to get rid of him. I'm also going ahead and looking to itemize the Jax. The Titans is a pretty good item on him, as I understand it. So I'm going to look to try to itemize Jax as like my secondary carry, and hopefully I can find another Jax here. But in the meantime, I'm just going to keep rolling. I would replace the Soraka with and by the way, 2 more Nidalees. I was like, oh, okay, now I've got 8 of them. I was going to say I would replace the Nidalee with Nautilus, and there we go. Now I've got him in. And I was temporarily running Karma, who's a pretty nice unit in her own right here. and was providing the Dawnbringer trait for Nidalee, but I'd rather have 3 Ironclad here. This is kind of the core of this build, as I understand it. It is 6 Skirmishers, 3 Ironclad. Makes your team very tanky. It gives time for the Skirmisher trait to ramp up with that bonus damage. And so, although this comp doesn't do very well against magic damage, because there's no Mystic in here, it's very strong against physical damage. Kennen gets off a really nice ult. He puts his healing debuff on the entire enemy team, so they're going to keep ticking away with that long burn that basically never, ever runs out. And I'm just hoping we can get on the carries here on the other team. Doesn't look like I'm going to get on Willow's carries, though. Even though Nidalee dodges the Ash Arrow, it's not enough. And I'm going to go down to 12 HP, and I'm like, ah, man. Well, we do have a minion round coming up here. I'm going to go ahead and look to put this Quicksilver on Jax, because I don't really have another good person to put it on. And I'm just like, geez, I really hope I can find one more Nidalee here, because I'm sitting on 8 Nidalees. It sure would be nice to hit the 3-star Nidalee. There's no Chosen to help out with that, but I'm happy to, have a 3-star carry. As far as what Jax does, since we've got a minion round here, I'm just going to read his description. So Jax has very low mana. He only has 20 mana, so a good holder of a blue buff if I can manage to get another tier somehow. Jax, Empowered Strike, only costs 20 mana. Jax slams his target for 200% of his attack damage, gains 33% stacking attack speed for the remainder of combat. Jax leaps to the nearest enemy if no target is in his attack range. So again, he's another unit that ramps up, gains stacking attack speed as combat goes on. So it looks like giving him AD items and also getting him a blue buff really is what kind of pops him off in these combats. So again, I'm rolling. I'm going to 2-star the Nautilus. It's not really the unit I want to 2-star. I'm like, come on, Nidalee. One more Nidalee. Give me Nidalee or Jax. But unfortunately, the gold runs out, and I do not manage to find the 3-star Nidalee or the 2-star Jax. So that's a little bit unfortunate. It looks like I have an elimination rounds here with the Walloper. One of us is going to knock out the other. And he is running, it looks like he's got Karma as his carry in the background there. So I'm not exactly sure what trait he's playing through. But it looks like my front line is able to get past his front line. And Nidalee has gotten on the carries, which is what I want. She's dodging, thanks to having all that dodge chance. So it looks like I will be able to hold this round and knock out Walloper, who's unfortunately going to finish here in 5th place. Grillo says spending 18 health on the Teemo is likely not a good idea. If you aren't familiar with this already, Teemo costs 6 health to purchase, and it looks like Grillo purchased 3 of him. So 6 health, 6 health, 6 health, that's 18 health down. Yeah, maybe not the greatest idea. He did have extra health to burn, but that was maybe not the way to go. So it's the 3 of us left, myself, Grillo, and Willow, against this person who is not part of our group, Choila. So we're hoping that one of the 3 of us will be able to win the lobby against Choila. But I'm actually going to be up against Grillo here. And Grillo actually does manage to Zephyr out my person with the evil frozen heart or whatever. But Kennen gets off an amazing ult, puts that healing debuff on the whole team, and that's really important for the Draven, because remember, Draven's got a Bloodthirster. Draven is all about healing off of the attacks that he gets with his spinning axes. But with that debuff on the healing on him, it's going to make a big difference in this fight. And now I'm just continuing to roll my last bit of gold here, and then, oh, there it is, the 3-star Nidalee, yes! Ha ha ha! So that's going to be the 3-star Nidalee, and even though now it's down to just me and this other person, Choila, who's not in our group, I'm like, I can win this round now. I can definitely do this. In fact, I actually have a really good setup because the person I'm up against, Choila, is running a heavy Dawnbringers comp. He's running 7 Dawnbringers. Now remember, the Dawnbringers trait is one I've had in for most of the game here. Dawnbringers is the trait that provides all that healing. Dawnbringers rapidly heal some of their maximum health when they drop below 50%. So, he has Dawnbringer 6 in, which is a 100% healing. When his units drop below 50% of health, they heal back 100% of their max health. But I have the evil Morellos on Kennen, and you know what that does? It cuts healing in half. So I have the perfect counter to this team comp in the form of my Kennen. And Dawnbringers as a trait is useful to splash in, but it's kind of not the best thing to have as the core of your team composition. Not really a good item as like to build your entire team around. I go ahead and I grab the Brawler's Glove here, which is kind of a weird item to take, but I wanted to get Jax's tier into something more useful. So I'm going to turn that into the Hand of Justice, which has been nerfed here in set 5. It's not as good as it used to be. By the way, I go past a Rel there, but I guess I already had Rel 2-star, so it didn't matter. And Troila's going to go up to 8 Dawnbringer, which is really crazy healing. It's 200% health healed, 200% of max health healed when they drop below 50%. But the problem is Dawnbringers is not really a trait that you can run just 8 of because it's not really a carry unit. There's no damage here. You get tons of healing, but you don't really have damage. And if the other person has any kind of healing debuff on their setup, your team comp just kind of falls apart there, unfortunately. So, like, I guess Nidalee is the carry, and Nidalee is itemized pretty well. There's going to be a lot of dodge chance on that Nidalee, but there's no Skirmisher trait in play, so Nidalee's not going to get the shield, and the enemy Nidalee is also not going to get that stacking AD bonus. So, even though it's going to take a little while to kill these units, Troila can't kill me because he doesn't have any damage on his team. He has a lot of healing, but he has no damage, so we should be able to finish this off. It is a little bit closer than I'd like, but we are going to finish it, and GG to Troila. I'm able to take first place in this lobby thanks to getting the 3-star Nidalee. Yeah, no Nidalees for the entire beginning of the game. And then this run of Nidalees at the end to give me the 3-star version and allow me to take first place with this comp. Well, I hope you enjoyed this early peek at a Skirmisher setup. I'm sure it'll be different by the time the game releases, but you get an early peek at it here on the PBE. Thanks to everybody who joined me. Thanks for watching, and see you guys again soon. Have a good one.